Hello, friends and clients. I am Jennifer Walker Gates, board certified immigration attorney, and with JLW Immigration Law Group. I am here today in this video to share with you about the concept of habeas corpus. Habeas corpus is a weird word, but it's a really, really important legal concept, especially right now, these days. So I am going to be talking about what habeas corpus is, how it's used, and why it's really important right now for immigrants and their attorneys to know about this important concept. Before I get into today's content, I want to ask that you take a moment to share our videos, subscribe to our channels, comment on the videos. If you have any questions, we're happy to respond. We want to make sure that whether an individual is working with us as attorneys on their own or with another attorney, that they have the information they need to be successful. And especially in this moment right now, it's more important than ever that we share resources with one another. So please take a moment to share this video if you have a friend or a loved one who needs the information. And with that, let's get into today's topic. What is habeas corpus? Okay, that is a weird word, right? It comes from Latin. Habeas corpus in Latin means you shall have the body. Habeas corpus it's really fundamentally just a type of lawsuit that is filed, but it comes from the Constitution, and the founders of our country wrote it into the Constitution, even though there's no law written by Congress or something like that that creates the right to habeas corpus. The right to habeas corpus comes from way back in Roman times, from the very, very beginnings of democracy. It is a way to challenge being detained. It is a way to challenge having restrictions placed on your liberty by the government. It forces the government to justify why they are detaining you or why they have restricted your freedom. And in the immigration context, it has become very important as we have seen courts and DHS working to create policies that justify and somehow legalize mass detention of all kinds of people who have been law-abiding and who are not dangers to their community and who are responsible, who appear for their hearings, etc. So habeas corpus exists not to say that you win your whole case, but it forces the government to justify, to explain, and provide a good reason for keeping someone detained. Immigration detention is supposed to be civil in nature, not criminal. It is not supposed to be punitive. It is not supposed to punish the person. Immigration detention is supposed to only happen if the person is either a risk to their community or if they are unlikely to appear for their hearings. Otherwise, there is a presumption in the United States, in our Constitution, that someone should not be detained. There is a presumption of liberty written into our Constitution. And habeas corpus was brought into our Constitution by our founders because they had come from England, where the king was very abusive and very happy to just put people in jail for any reason or no reason at all, as his mood suggested. The founders of the United States had suffered, along with a lot of other people, for many generations under kings who detained people arbitrarily for any reason that they felt like. And so they wanted to make it very difficult in the United States for the government to detain someone. They wanted it to be always justified. And in the immigration context, what we are seeing is an erosion of those rights. Families have been separated for months or even years while people have been detained. Now we have a recent case saying that immigration courts cannot review prolonged detention. They can't review detention for people who entered without permission. But habeas corpus still exists, and the federal courts are finding repeatedly that immigrants in the United States do have a right to have their cases heard, do have a right to seek a bond, to seek release from detention, to have the opportunity to demonstrate that they are responsible, they are not dangerous, they are going to appear for their hearings, and they are not going to cause problems. So the federal courts have been upholding the rights of our immigrant community, even while the immigration system has been steadily eroding them over the past several months. The way that an immigration habeas case works is if a person is detained by immigration and they believe it was an unlawful detention or they have no prospect of getting out of immigration detention, they can file a suit in federal court. It is called a petition for habeas corpus. The federal court has then a judge that responds to that petition and asks the government, orders the government to provide an explanation why they are detaining this person. And if that explanation is not sufficient in the judge's eyes, the judge will either order the person released or order that the person be provided an opportunity for a bond hearing to present to the immigration court their arguments as to why they are not at risk to society and they are not at risk of absconding or escaping and avoiding their future hearings. What we are seeing repeatedly is that federal courts in the United States agree with us, immigration attorneys, that the reasons that the Board of Immigration Appeals and DHS are giving right now for detaining so many people do not accord with the Immigration Nationality Act as it was written by Congress. They certainly don't match what has been happening for decades in the United States, where immigrants have been allowed to present an application for a bond for release from immigration detention. And so federal courts are really upholding the constitutional rights of immigrants right now, in spite of a lot of pressure from the immigration system to keep them detained until they're deported. So it has been really helpful for us to see that the federal courts are standing strong on the Constitution and protecting the rights of all persons in the United States, regardless of immigration status, which is what the Constitution stands for. In the real world, the people who are most likely to be eligible to have a petition for a grant of habeas corpus are people who've been detained for a long time, more than 6 months, and there's no prospect that they're going to be removed from the United States anytime soon. Immigration detention is allowed if it is going to facilitate someone's quick removal to their home country. Asylum seekers, while their cases are pending, historically were entitled to a bond. Recent cases have determined that individuals who are seeking asylum, who enter the United States and then want to seek asylum, are suddenly subject to mandatory detention. The federal courts are disagreeing. Parents and individuals who have no criminal record, but they have strong community ties, those people are likely to be able to convince a federal judge that they warrant a grant of habeas corpus. Sometimes courts do allow someone to remain detained, but a habeas corpus petition can lead to release even if the immigration judge has decided that the person can't request a bond because they are not allowed. So a federal court can overrule what the Board of Immigration Appeals has said to a federal judge and require that an immigration judge review someone's custody status. So the key takeaway here is that habeas corpus exists to challenge detention. It does not decide the immigration case, but it can help someone get out of detention where they will have a much better chance of successfully presenting their immigration case because they will have time and opportunity to develop their evidence, to develop their witnesses, to prepare their witnesses. They will have freedom, they will be with their families, they will be able to work, etc. Those are much better circumstances for someone to be able to prepare and present a case than being inside of detention. So habeas corpus is our safeguard. It is with the federal courts. It has been a way for us to protect the constitutional rights of immigrants in the United States. We are very grateful that the judges have been with us on this issue so far. We're grateful for their courage in upholding the Constitution in spite of a lot of pressure to really come down hard on immigrants right now and keep them locked up. The Constitution affords the right to a presumption of liberty to every person in the United States, regardless of immigration status. This is what habeas corpus exists to help us enforce. So if you have a question about your particular case or a loved one, please reach out to us. Our phone number is 512-633-1785. You can call our office and our team will help you get scheduled with me or any of the other attorneys in our firm, and we can talk to you about whether you might be eligible to seek an order of habeas corpus, and if so, where, and which attorneys might be able to help you. We have licenses in the federal courts in Central Texas, West Texas, South Texas, North Texas, and in some other states, New Mexico, etc. However, we have colleagues all around the country who are practicing in the federal courts that can help us go into the federal court if needed in different areas. And we can also make referrals. So please don't hesitate to reach out if you need help seeking a challenge to detention. With that, please be safe. Join us on Wednesdays for our lives at noon. We are here at noon Central Time on Wednesdays on our YouTube channel, on our Facebook page, providing educational content and Q&A live on the air for the immigrant community. So please don't hesitate to reach out to us. And thank you for being here. Please be safe, take care, and I hope that this information helps you protect your rights. Take care. Bye-bye.